All right, so here we go through the cut. We decided to re-record it on the way back, just simply because it was kind of wet and misty on the way out. Maybe we can see a little bit better. So this is one of the larger rock cuts in the area. It's very beautiful. You got all the moss growing on the rocks, and again with the fall colors, you can certainly see things a little bit better. The cut itself is quite lengthy. And it is very high. Probably here we've got to be in the 20-foot range. And here we're starting to push even higher. So up here we've got to be at least 25 feet, if not more. Again, sometimes it's hard to estimate the height of the cut. Again, you'll notice the very kind of irregular shape of the sides of the cut. Again, just the way that the rock is made up, right? You can see that it basically has a lot of kind of natural kind of faults and cuts in it. And then the type of rock as well, and then the blasting methods, right? So again, you know, 1906, they're building through this area. You know, power drills and things like that are just starting to come around, and so you don't see a lot of those nice clean lines that you would see on later rail lines. So again, here you can see the extreme height. I love the tree growing right at the top of this part of the cut. So again, you know, later rail lines, you know, you'd actually see the drill marks, right? And so when it blasted, it would just sort of shear everything off right on the drill line, but certainly not in this particular case. Okay, so this is where the cut starts to peter out, and we'll just continue biking on. Okay, here we go again. So this is a prime example of it's been very dry. The month of September we got, I don't know about here, but I know in Thunder Bay there were 6 millimeters of rain, and we haven't had this much this month. So today's the 19th of October. We had a little bit last night, so there's a little bit of muck and stuff at the bottom of some of these what normally are huge puddles. So I was here, I've been here before, obviously, but I was here in July to do another little sort of scouting mission. And it had rained quite a bit in June. And some of these puddles were like full of water, right? There's gonna be one up here. Like this puddle was, this indentation here was full of water, right? You can see we're in a rock cut here. So this is very typical in the rock cuts where you're gonna get this sort of situation. You can see the cut's not particularly high. There's a spike down there. The only problem is in some of these low spots here, you get sand and it's really hard to pedal through. With a 60-pound boat anchor attached, AKA the dog. Now I can remember this one when we were here in July. A friend of mine was with me, and I remember he was looking out the window as we drove through here, and he's like, the water's up to the bottom of the door. So there's normally quite a bit of water in here. So again, you can see coming through a rock cut, you can see it's not particularly high. Maybe it's just over 6 feet or so. You can see a little bit of muck here, a little bit of water at the bottom of the puddle, or sorry, little puddle at the bottom of the low spot here. Nice day today. It almost started out just like it did 2 weeks ago. I was not particularly thrilled. It was misting. It was literally raining when I left home, and then it kind of continued to taper off, and it was still misting by the time I got to where I parked. And may have been some colorful things said, because I was like, not this again, right? Drive all the way out here and go to do this, and it's misting and not particularly nice. So we're getting into a long straight stretch here. So maybe I'll zoom you. We got a stop coming up ahead here, but I'll zoom you ahead till we get there. Okay, so we're coming up to our stop here. So somewhere in this area here, you can see kind of this area on this side. I don't know if there's anything here, but it kind of looks like there's something here beside the grade. And so what we have is the first of a couple of spurs. All right, so now that I got my notes out, I can tell you a little bit about what's here. So this first spur was located at milepost 12.5 on the Graham, which works out to be 41.5 or so on the original line. So from 1928 to 1930, there was a 15-car spur attached at the east end belonging to LeGros and Spofford. And then after 1931, the spur continued in use until 1948, so it continued in use for another 17 years. The size changed a little bit. It says that it was 14 or 13 cars, okay, so it may have contracted a little bit, and that one was just called wood spur. So maybe it didn't belong to a particular company, but basically was used in general. What were they cutting here? I'm guessing that they were probably cutting pulpwood. That was a very, very common thing to cut in this particular area. You'll notice we are in kind of a low area, and one of the things that tips us off, and you're going to see this a lot going forward, is you're going to see these yellow trees here. So you can see that they're yellow, very, very bright yellow. You can see that there's yellow all over the ground. Those are the needles. So these trees are tamaracks, and tamarack is a species of larch. We've talked about them on some of our other hikes, particularly on the Kinghorn. And so they're one of the very few coniferous trees that lose their needles. So around this time, usually a week or 2 weeks after the rest of the leaves drop, you can see that they change color. So they turn kind of this very bright shade of yellow, and then the needles will drop, and you can see that there's needles on the ground. Actually, before I was, I had stopped earlier, and I was standing there and I went, is it snowing? Because I was seeing little things coming down, and I'm like, it can't be snowing, because it was, last time I checked, the temperature was 9 degrees. It turns out it was the little needles from the tamaracks that were coming down. So here we have yet another spur. So again, I'm guessing on this side, so on the I don't know what direction we're going here. Looks like we're kind of close to due north. So on the west side, we had another spur, and this one was located at milepost 12.6, so 1/10 of a mile to the west of the other one. So again, around about milepost 41.6 on the original line. This one belonged to the Scott Lumber Company, and it was in use between 1927 and 1931. And it varied in size from 15 to 20 to 14 cars, and it was attached at the east end once again. And so what I'll do is I'll flash you up some timetables so you can see those spurs. All right, so we're going to hold up here momentarily, and then we're going to continue our journey to the west.